You know, this that I'm going to share now is not for the religious, not for the doubters, it's not for the naysayers, the prideful, the arrogant, and those who are wise in their own eyes. These are for the ones that are truly chosen, who have made their calling and election sure. This word is for the true bride of Christ, the hidden ones, because he is coming to be unveiled within the bride of his choosing. These people have been hidden in prophetic caves of hiddenness and preparation for many years. And there shall be an unveiling as we come forth out of the refiner's fires prophesied by Malachi, and the Lord whom you seek will suddenly come to his temple, because he inhabits our holy bride. Like Jesus said to me in 2009 when I was complaining about the fires of purification and the suffering in the wilderness of intimacy by which we are stripped by God of dross of our own ways, like Moses. God had to take him into the wilderness and then take the son of Egypt, the worldly Moses, out of him, and also the ways of Egypt and the desires of Egypt. And in that wilderness he discovered the greatest treasure, God himself. And he was known as the most humble man on earth, because he's coming to unveil himself through a bride that has been matured in the ways of God and being made fruitful through the discipline of the Father spoken of in Hebrews 12. No discipline seems pleasant while we go through it, but painful. But later on, however, it produces the peaceful fruits of righteousness. That's the righteousness of the kingdom. Righteousness, because it's the righteousness of the king of that kingdom. Righteousness, joy, and peace. And Father said to me, your faith has been matured and perfected, because we become naturally supernatural. Your faith has been matured when you are at peace, unmoved, unshaken by anything, anyone, or any circumstances, even when you find yourself in a typical Mark 4 raging storm. You are at peace. Your faith has been matured, God says, when you are at peace in the midst of many seeming impossibilities. Because without God, nothing shall be impossible. It's like Jesus was training the disciples in Mark 4, because there's always the other side of the storm. But we pass through the storm, and then he matures our faith in the storm. He teaches us to look at him, to trust in him. And all that Jesus has to do is to stand up and rebuke the storm, because he's the Lord of every storm. Because our faith is in who God is. It's not in our own abilities, it's in who God is. And what he is able to do exceedingly abundantly, far above all we can ask or think. And then also, according to his power that is at work in us, he works in us to do and to will, according to his purposes. And it's really like he lives for us, through us. As his life is formed and developed in us, the life of Christ coming to us, maturing in us, developing in us, being brought to fruition, maturity, until we are naturally supernatural, when we are undisturbed by anything or anyone, and we see everything from the perspective of God, from the perspective of the throne, where we find ourselves seated in heavenly places. And we have been in a courtship in this wilderness Because in 2008, when I saw the face of Jesus Christ the first time, I encountered him in the throne room settings where he sat surrounded by the 24 elders. It was one of the most powerful encounters to show me as a forerunner back then the season we are in and what God is busy working out within his bride. And then it was first prophesied, God sent Mervis van der Merwe, prophet here in South Africa, a precious brother of Christ, true prophet, very accurate. And back then the Lord said to me, you are my bride, and don't be sad or discouraged about the dry seasons in your life, because I'm drawing you into the secret place. That's the Holy of Holies. That's the Psalm 91 mountaintop. Fruitfulness, maturity, the place of encounter, face-to-face encounter. The Lord took me through the outer court, the inner court, the Holy of Holies. I was there by encounter. I saw it. I saw those realms. And he showed me what the outer court is. It's like we all start out in the outer court of carnality, being spiritual babies, 30-fold manifestation. And then we mature as developing children, the 60-fold. And then that's like Moses leaving the realm of idolatry where they worship the golden calves into the mountain, the journey into the mountain. It's the inner court ministry of supernatural transformation and restoration and deliverance and healing of the wounded, broken soul. That's the inner court ministry, 60-fold developing children, because we are maturing to be brought into a face-to-face encounter with God like Moses in the mountaintop glory realm. Because that's the type and the shadow of the gospel being wrought out and worked out in our life, in our journey with God. And we've learned to yield more of ourselves to God in this journey. And that's how you ascend into the mountain, yielding more and more and more of yourself until God has taken you over completely. And he rules every aspect of your life. Has been brought into submission to him. And then we break through into that glory realm, mountaintop encounter, face to face. And then it was powerful because in 2008, I was taken through the inner court, the outer court, the inner court, and there the glory was blinding, brighter than the sun, man. I remember I fell on my face and I leopard crawled, literally on my hands and my knees, to the glory, to the Holy of Holy realm, through the inner court ministry. And I remember there was a throne as well to my right. And then, but when the Lord brought me into the maturity of sonship and the inner court ministry was completed in me, and my soul was made whole, and he brought me through a door into the Holy of Holies, and Jesus sat on the throne before me, and I saw his gorgeous, beautiful, without words. His face cannot be spoken of. He's the most beautiful being that you can see, and his eyes are like liquid living pools of love, and when he looks at you, it's like an oven of love opening up, and that heat, ecstasy of his love, that wave just hits you. It's like he swallows you with his eyes, because he's the pure essence and person of divine love. And it's like you see these sparkling living galaxies in his eyes, and you see eternity in his eyes, you see eternity in his face, and everything that he is radiates through his face. And he's childlike, humble, lamb-like to the bride, and the most gorgeous, beyond words, beautiful person that you can encounter. Gentle. And it's impossible to explain everything in words because you don't really understand what you see. But in any case, so the Lord showed me in 2008, this is the season that you are going through until you see my face. He said to me, don't be sad or discouraged about the dry seasons in your life, because I'm drawing you into the secret place where you will see my face and hear my voice. And that's John 16. You will see me again, because that is the travailing bride, that prophecy in John 16. And it's only recorded in John, the one who reclined in his bosom at the Last Supper, in which the wedding in Cana in Galilee is recorded, and the one who was the only one who ended up standing at the cross with Jesus, when he said to me, my bride is not offended with my cross, because we lay ourselves down like he did command us in John 15, no greater love is a man than to lay down his life for his friends. So we follow him not just to the cross and to salvation, but through the cross to lay down lives, by which the seed of our lives are impregnated to multiply into fruitfulness. And this is what Jesus demonstrated as the perfect forerunner of the church of the firstborn in John 12. It's time, Father, that I be glorified. And he demonstrated the principle by which God brings forth the fruits of righteousness and the harvest of righteousness within the bride's life. Unless a kernel of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains a single seed, but when it dies, it brings forth many seeds. And this is why the Father now will release the harvest as he brings the bride into fruitfulness, maturity, because the fruitfulness of the bride unlocks the precious fruit of the earth. And God said to me, I will not release my harvest to a defiled church, to a defiled people, because if they rape my bride, they're raping my bride, what will they do to my harvest? So he's coming to the bride of his choosing, and they are scattered in hiddenness, being prepared for many years. And it's going to be like Jesus said to me, Peter, I didn't change. The same King of glory that came in the first time in obscurity in the stable through the Virgin Mary shall come in like manner in obscurity, obscure circumstances, in the bride of his choosing, in the stable. Because the inn, and he referred to these religious empires of man's church and organizations of men who have organized God out of the meeting where the flesh rules, the Laodicean rulers who have saved acquired wealth in need of nothing. And they've settled for fool's gold, the fool's gold of Babylon, Father said to me. They've been sitting like the Roman soldiers at the foot of the cross, gambling for the robe of righteousness. You can't buy heaven. You can't sell Christ. It's in the way of sacrifice. And the Lord said, in the same manner I will be unveiled through the manifested sons of his choosing, because God has raised and equipped and matured his own sons. Nobody can tell God how to raise his own sons. Those that shall be unveiled as the manifested, glorified sons of God, who have been trained and equipped by the Father himself. And he will come in like manner as when he was born in the stable in humble circumstances. And then the Lord took it further, because he used that setting as a parable, and he showed me that the star that guided them to that place of birth signified, or is a demonstration of, or a pattern, or an example of the ministry of the Holy Spirit that led the sons of God, the bride of Christ, to the place of birthing. And we are in that season now where we will see him face to face. Like he says in John, you will see 16, you will see me again. Isaiah 33, your eyes will see the King in his beauty. And I've seen the Lord many times, 2 face-to-face encounters that was beyond words, but it was just to show and demonstrate me as a kingdom forerunner, according to Amos 3:7, to declare it and teach it and prophesied with his authority into the earth, and to write the vision to make it plain, so that Satan cannot tamper with it. So what I'm saying to you, bride of Christ, is rejoice, keep your eyes and focused on him. We have been in this entire year in the season of the upper room season of the suddenness of God, and the word not now to be fulfilled. Jesus said to me, I am suddenly coming into the upper chamber of the heart of my surrendered bride, through whom the final Pentecost shall be poured forth, and me and my beloved shall receive the fruits of our devotion and sacrifice, the children of the final Pentecost. Behold, I stand at the door and I knock. If any man hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him. And that scripture and prophecy will consummate in a face-to-face encounter. Jesus showed this to me again 9 years ago. I was living in obscurity and there was a knock on the door. I opened my door. He stood right in front of me through a face-to-face encounter, and he sucked my being into oneness with him, because the bride will become one with him in these fires of purification that we've been in, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And now he's coming to appear and meet with the bride within the fire, until the image of the fourth man, like unto the Son of God, is unveiled within the purified bride. And then we will go forth according to Joel 2 and Joel 3 and Isaiah 13 and Zechariah 10, through the latter rain outpouring, to the manifestation of the sons of God, to set this world ablaze, because revival in the Greek means to bring to life by fire. And you can only awaken those who are spiritually asleep when you yourself have been awakened by God first. I bless you with this word. Those who have ears to hear what the Spirit is saying to the church.